Joining us live via Zoom is Natalie Melnyczuk. She is a professor of political science at Wayne State University and a Euro-Atlantic security consultant. Before we begin, we do want to warn our viewers that some of the video used during this segment is graphic. Natalie, thank you for being here with us. Knowing that there was a warning that was issued ahead of this horrible, heinous attack, what are your thoughts on how this played out?
Well, it's really remarkable. What we see is President Putin, who has just, through his own form of sham electioneering in Russia, has just been reelected to the presidency once again, practically uncontested. And we knew who the victor would be of the elections before the elections even happened. But what President Putin has constructed in Russia is truly a persona and a purpose for the country completely based upon his war against Ukraine. Now, a fraction of the populace does stand behind him. We know there are currently about 400,000 Russian soldiers in Ukraine, but all his energies, efforts, and planning seem to be focused on Ukraine. So at this point, just about anything that happens, he will blame on Ukraine. He was very, very quick to pin the blame on Ukraine with absolutely no evidence available or cited. However, as noted in the previous segment, it took 1 hour and 30 minutes for security services in Russia to show up at the Crocus Club on Friday. That is rather inexcusable. The United States practiced the duty to warn, which means if there's a credible threat of a terrorist attack somewhere, and an intelligence service such as the United States Intel Services picked up on this threat. They found it to be very credible. They took it upon themselves to warn President Putin of an imminent attack. Indeed, the U.S. Embassy issued a warning 2 weeks ago to U.S. citizens in Russia, telling them not to go to large crowds, not to congregate in the Moscow area, and particularly not to attend concert venues, as these were likely potential areas where we might see a terrorist strike. The strike came to pass. But a few days before ISIS did strike, ISIS-K in this case, President Putin made a statement actually criticizing the United States for what it considered to be a false red herring warning, did not heed the warning, did not prepare itself for a potential terrorist attack. And there is a security service hired to protect the concert venue. None of those security officers seem to have been on duty that night. There was no security, and again, it took an hour and a half for security to come there. The people that they have captured now, they have 4 people that have appeared in a court in Moscow this morning, severely beaten. They all seem to be connected to ISIS-K, and the United States, France, and the United Kingdom all say they have very credible information that these people came from the ISIS-K terrorist cell.
So, Natalie, Putin is blaming Ukraine without any evidence. Meanwhile, it seems much of the rest of the world confirms that this offshoot of ISIS is indeed responsible. Can you explain what that relationship is or what the conflict is between ISIS and Russia? What is the history there?
Yeah, ISIS has a long list of people who are enemies of ISIS, and that they would like to inflict terrorist acts upon. Russia is at the top of that list. Russia has quite a long and brutal history against Muslims, particularly within Chechnya. They have fought 2 wars within Russia against the Muslim Chechen populace. And eventually they suppressed the Chechens brutally after flattening their capital. Then Russia, of course, had invaded Afghanistan quite a while ago in 1980, but unprovoked. Russia invaded Afghanistan and led what was almost a 10-year war against Afghanistan, hoping to conquer the country. It failed, was driven out, and went back home. So that's 2 major wars against Muslim populations. But recently, Russia went in to back President Assad of Syria, taking his side against the democratic and freedom movements of the people of Syria. Russia came in with its air force and leveled the capital, Aleppo. So There are many reasons why ISIS would have Russia on the top of that list. And unfortunately, President Putin has sent all of his forces available to Ukraine to fight a war without providing protection for his people at home, without protecting them from credible threats. And it doesn't seem that he's going to be apologizing for that anytime soon. But the people of Russia have noticed, as one of his platforms during re-election was, that he is the protector of Russia and its people.
Now, with an attack of this magnitude, it's hard to imagine that there won't be some kind of response. What do you see happening in the future?
Well, President Putin likes to use the word response, and because he has decided that Ukraine is the one at fault here, you would expect some sort of additional response against Ukraine. But what more can he do? He has launched an illegal, unprovoked, aggressive war against Ukraine. He has sent in nearly 500,000 soldiers already. About 400,000 are already dead in Ukraine. He keeps sending more into what is called the meat grinder, undoubtedly to face their untimely demise as well. So, what more can he do? Well, he has spent the week bombing civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. Out of the past 5 days, 4 days have been accentuated by hypersonic ballistic missile strikes throughout Ukraine. Just this morning, he successfully destroyed both an arts academy in the capital of Kyiv, as well as a children's rhythmic gymnastics academy. There were students present in the first school, the Arts Academy, but thankfully nobody at the Rhythmic Gymnastics Academy. But a few days back, he also destroyed the largest hydroelectric power station in Ukraine in the eastern city of Kharkiv, which took out all the transformer stations and therefore left people without electricity in what is still winter in Ukraine. What more can he do? It's actually difficult to predict. Mind you, most of these ballistic missile strikes were before the Friday terrorist attack in Russia. So the two aren't necessarily correlated. He'll probably say in some way this is revenge or retribution. But again, the Ukrainian president and the Ukrainian government has stood firm and said, we have nothing to do with this. Why would we do this? Ukraine has not shown any inclination in attacking Russian civilians. Indeed, Ukraine has only stricken at a very limited basis some oil refineries in Russia and some munitions depots. It has not gone in and invaded Russia as Russia has invaded Ukraine. So it completely doesn't fit the profile for the way Ukraine is trying to defend itself against Russia in this war.
Well, Natalie, as always, we thank you for lending your expertise and providing some insight on this horrible situation. Natalie Melnyczuk from Wayne State University, thanks for your time today.